Our next speaker is Shawn Every. Shawn is a certified AI consultant and capacity strategist who helps leaders and business owners reclaim their bandwidth through practical, sustainable AI implementation. She has more than 20 years of entrepreneurial experience and a background in corporate training, customer service. She specializes in addressing the human side of AI adoption before the tools ever enter the room. But what makes her perspective rare is a lived experience. She uses AI as assistive technology in her own work, navigating fibromyalgia, early onset Parkinson's, and a pituitary adenoma. That story should give every leader in our audience today permission to admit that we all need real support too. Shawn serves as a resident AI expert in 2 business communities and has spoken at the AI Insight Summit and the Aligned AI Summit. Her talk today is Protecting Capacity First: Why AI Implementation Fails Without It. Please welcome Shawn Every.
Hi, my name is Shawn Every. I'm a certified AI consultant and capacity strategist. Today, we're talking about protecting capacity. And something that I know from research and from my own personal experience is that most AI rollouts fail before the first tool is ever opened. And the stats prove it. A 2025 MIT study found that 95% of generative AI pilots inside companies are failing to deliver any measurable impact. Notice I said 95%, not half. Then we have Gallup's 2025 State of the Global Workplace report that tells us that only 21% of employees worldwide are engaged at work right now. That is the lowest it has been since before the pandemic. And North American workers specifically are reporting the highest stress levels of any region on the planet. And then there's this one, the Upwork study. 2024, the Upwork study found that 77% of employees said that AI actually made their workload heavier, not lighter. I did say heavier. And 40% said that their employers are asking too much of them when it comes to AI adoption. So the question is not, why is AI failing? The data answers that. The real question is, why do we keep handing new AI tools or tools in general to teams that are already drowning? Because most organizations don't have an AI problem. They have a capacity problem. They're trying to solve that capacity problem with AI. And when you hand a new tool to a team that's already running on empty, you don't get efficiency. You get more weight on an already overloaded system. So today, I want to give you a different starting point. And you'll see that this starting point is one that actually works. So, yes, I could keep citing research to you or statistics, but I want to tell you why I'm qualified to talk about this. Not from a research paper, not from statistics, from my own life. You see, I live with several chronic illnesses, and some days my body just does not cooperate with what my mind needs to accomplish. I didn't adopt AI because it was trending. I adopted it because my capacity was genuinely limited, but I still had a business to run and a job to go to. AI didn't make me more productive in the hustle culture sense. It actually made my work possible. And what the experience has taught me is what no certification ever could teach me. And that is when a person is already at their limit, adding a new tool doesn't help them. It actually overwhelms them. That tool becomes one more thing to manage instead of one less burden to carry. Now, that 77% stat that we talked about earlier, I live the other side of that number. I know what it feels like when a tool is supposed to help, but instead it just adds to the pile. And I also know what it feels like when it's done right. When AI actually gives you breathing room instead of taking more of it. That is exactly what is happening inside organizations right now. And our HR leaders, you're the ones sitting with the fallout. So let me show you what a different approach looks like. Here's what I want you to think about. Before your organization introduced any AI tool, how was your team actually doing? Were people keeping up or were they behind? Were inboxes manageable or were they a source of daily anxiety? Were people taking PTO or were they logging in anyway because the work just doesn't stop? Because here's what the data and my experience both confirm. Most teams were already overextended before AI even entered the conversation. And overextension has a fingerprint. This is what it looks like: meetings that could have been emails, emails that never get answered, decisions that stall because no one has the mental bandwidth to make them. Good employees who are quietly disengaging because they are tired of being tired. That is a capacity crisis. And when you introduce AI into that environment without addressing that first, one of two things happens. Either the team ignores the tool entirely because they just don't have the bandwidth to learn it, or they use it just enough to create new problems nobody has time to fix. Neither one of these outcomes is what you were hoping for. And what's actually true is that neither one is an AI problem. Yep, you guessed it. It's a capacity problem. And believe it or not, that is actually good news because capacity is something leaders can address. So I want to give you something. I want to give you what I call my 3Ps framework. I use this with every client before we touch any AI tools. That's the 3Ps: pause, process, and prioritize. And it takes a few minutes to explain, but it changes everything about how implementation really goes. And each P you'll see as we go through it builds on the last one. If you skip one, the whole thing actually just falls apart. So let's get started. The first P, pause. Before you roll out any AI initiative, pause and take an honest look at where your people actually are, not where the organizational chart says they should be, where they actually are. A simple way that you can do this is ask your managers one question. If I added one more responsibility to your team this week, what would break? Now, that answer tells you everything about your current capacity. And honestly, most leaders already know the answer before they finish asking that question because they know which team is hanging by a thread. They know whose plate is already too full. The pause is not about gathering new information. It is about giving yourself permission to act on what you already know before you add anything else. That is the power of the pause. It turns awareness into a decision point instead of just another thing that you meant to get to. So let's move on to the second P, process. Once you know where capacity actually stands, process means mapping out where AI can remove the weight rather than add to it. We're not talking about where it looks impressive, though. We're talking about where it actually helps. So ask your team this: what tasks drain you the most that don't require human judgment? That list that they give you, that's your AI starting point. So it's not about what's the flashiest or most popular use case scenario. It's about the most exhausting one. A team that gets 30 minutes back from a task that they dreaded is a team that's going to trust the tool. And what do we know? Trust drives adoption, and adoption drives results. Our third and final P, prioritize. This is where most organizations tend to get it backwards. They prioritize the technology and fit the people around it. Well, the 3 Ps framework actually flips that around. You prioritize the people first and fit the technology around them. That means starting with one team, one use case, one win. And with that win, I want you to let it breathe before you try to scale. Let people feel the relief that came from that before you ask them to do more with it. Organizations that implement this way don't just get AI adoption, they get something that's actually rarer. They get teams that actually want to use the tools because the tools genuinely made their work lighter. I don't want you to leave this session with a long to-do list. That would actually be defeating the purpose of this whole presentation. It would be ironic given everything that we just talked about. So I'm going to give you one thing, just one, okay? This week, before you schedule another AI training, before you purchase another tool, before you send another email about digital transformation, I want you to have one honest conversation with your team. I'm not talking about sending out a survey, not doing a focus group, just a conversation. Ask one person on your team, what is the one thing that drains you the most every single week? Then I want you to do something for me. I know it might be kind of hard, but listen. Don't try to fix it in the moment. Don't immediately suggest an AI solution. Just listen and maybe write it down and do that with 3 people. And guess what you have after that? You now have your capacity map. You know where the weight is. You know where relief is actually needed. And you have something more valuable than any AI implementation plan. you have trust. Because why? You asked. And that is where sustainable AI adoption starts. Not with the technology, with the people who have to use it every day. When your team believes that AI is being brought in to make their work lighter rather than to replace them or pile more onto them, everything changes. Adoption goes up, resistance goes down, and the ROI that your leadership team is actually looking for, it actually shows up. So, yeah, one conversation this week, that is your assignment. Now, before I let you go, I want to say this. Capacity is not a soft topic. It is not an HR buzzword or wellness initiative. It is the single most overlooked factor in whether your AI investment succeeds or fails. And now, after this presentation, you're now one of the few leaders in your space who knows that. You came into this session today thinking about AI. I hope you're leaving thinking about your people first, because when your people have breathing room, AI works. When they don't, nothing works. So I have something for you. I have a free interactive quiz called the Team AI Readiness Assessment. It's only 6 questions, and it takes you not even 2 minutes, but it will show you exactly where your team stands before you take your next step with AI. There's no email walls that you have to climb, no long forms, just honest insight that you can act on today. So feel free to scan that QR code, and I'd like to know where do you land on that? So let me know what happens. Again, one of the things that I want you to remember and take from this is AI is a tool. It's the tool, right? But relief is the result. So let's consider taking into consideration capacity, and we will see the difference that it makes in your leadership and in your company, in your organization. So I am Shawn Every. I help overextended and busy women entrepreneurs to implement AI into their systems and processes. And if that is something that you're looking to do, then reach out to me. You have my contact information there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to our speaker, Shawn Every, for her presentation, Protecting Capacity First, Why AI Implementation Fails Without It. Don't forget to try out the free tool that she's sharing with you using the QR code shown on this slide. And if you're looking to partner with Shawn, her website is askShawnAI.com. Don't forget, for Shawn or for any of our speakers, if you have a question, put her in the Q&A box and our speakers will respond to you via email with your personalized answer after the summit. Thank you again, Shawn Every. Let us move on to our next speaker.